Let's go ahead and put it all together today. Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today, I'm sort of responding to one of the questions I got and decided it was time to make this video again. I got a question about today's my first day. I'm starting the carnivore diet. What kind of tips do you have for me? Well, I have a lot of tips out there and they're spread over many videos. I'm closing in on 700 videos on my channel. But I thought I'd put it all in one place for you, because I haven't done that in quite some time. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. You might be wondering, Bob, what in the world are we watching here? Well, basically you're watching me walk. This doesn't seem super exciting until you realize a couple of years ago I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for a couple of minutes without severe pain. Now I'm out here walking every day. Today I thought we'd take the long walk around the big block just to give myself some time to cover all the things we need to cover today. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here as well. It means a lot to me that you choose to spend just a few moments of your day with me. I would like to ask you all to help me out. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Drop down in the comments and say hi, Bob. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. All of these things help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. I'm 61 years old, and I'm doing things that I couldn't do when I was 40, like being out here walking every day. Those of you that watch enough of my videos to know what route I'm taking, I'm going up that long first hill that, if you go way back to my early starting videos, when I first started walking, the first time I did this big hill, I had to stop about 4 times on the way up to this first stop sign to rest. And now I'm walking right on up the hill, and I can still talk to you. Might have to pause a moment. There's a young man up here doing yard work, and he's got his porta-blower running. And I know the porta-blower he's using is exactly like the one I've got at the miniature golf course. So it's not the lightest thing in the world. It's not super heavy, but it's not light either. But let's go ahead and get into this just a little bit here. The first thing is the piece of advice I will give you. To get started, don't just jump right in like I did. Professor K thinks that that's a bad idea, and I tend to agree with him. I think you'll have a better experience if you slowly transition. Now, I'm one of the people that got away with it. We're up at that stop sign, by the way. I got away with it. I jumped right in and never had any problems. Well, except the extreme bathroom issues for a couple of months. But you need to slowly transition, because most of the problems that people have when they switch to a carnivore diet or a ketogenic diet or even a standard low carb diet is they transition too quickly and they get lots of bad things happening to them. You know, you feel like you don't have any energy. You have sudden and explosive bathroom issues. All of that is your basically your gut microbiome is rebelling against the fact that you're changing its food source. So if you do that slowly, things will probably go better for you. And now we're gonna have to take just a little bit of a pause here. I'm gonna kind of keep on talking, but I'm not gonna talk about anything important until we pass the trash truck. It is Tuesday. So this looks like the recycling truck coming into the neighborhood, because he's picking up the green bins. Sorry about the noise. That's one of the big problems with my Tuesday walks. Okay, so now you've slowly transitioned and you're really ready to get into it. As you're transitioning, my suggestion is the first thing you want to eliminate is all of the extra seed oils. You know, if you're cooking with corn oil or canola or, you know, any kind of cooking spray, get rid of those and start cooking with butter or ghee, bacon grease, tallow, lard, any of the good fats that come from animals. Start there. Get rid of all the seed oils. Then, either at the same time or the next week, get rid of all the processed food. And when I say get rid of, I mean go ahead and throw it out. I saw a pretty funny one the other day that it was a meme that said, "I'm telling you, I cleared up more space in my freezer today, because cleared up more space in my freezer sounds a lot better than I polished off another gallon of ice cream." So when I say get rid of, I mean just throw it away. You don't need to further poison yourself if you're going to try and get healthy. So just slowly over the course of 4 to 6, even 8 weeks, we're about to get wet here because this person has their sprinklers and I'm about to get blasted because they don't know how to set up a sprinkler system properly. But you've got the transition done. You're slowly getting rid of all of the stuff that you're not supposed to have. Of course, some of it you're going to eat while you're transitioning. But when you're ready to start, make sure you get that stuff out of the house. Because it's amazing how many times you can tell yourself, okay, I'm done eating this stuff. I'm not going to touch that anymore. But if it's still sitting there on the shelf in your cupboard, it's like it sits there and screams at you, "Come get me." Now, as far as getting actually started on the carnivore diet, you've done your transition, you're ready to start. Don't worry about 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, fasting, intermittent fasting. Don't worry about all that stuff yet. Get adjusted to eating the foods that go with the proper human diet. Now, I personally am a big fan of starting off with something like either the lion diet, which is just ruminant meat with its associated fat, salt, and water. Getting rid of everything Then as you add stuff back, you'll be able to tell. But most people start with the very famous Dr. Berry's beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And like I said, don't worry about 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day or any of that other stuff. Anytime you think you're hungry, have some food. As long as it's beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And I suggest you do that as often as you're hungry. Because since you've finished your transition, you're still going to be hungrier as your body is adjusting to burning fat rather than burning carbs. So like I said, don't worry about all the other, stuff that we'll get into here later. May end up happening in later videos. But just make sure that you're eating enough. Every time you're hungry, eat until you can't eat anymore. Dr. Chaffee gives the advice to eat until it doesn't taste good anymore. And that works okay. I like that idea. Dr. Berry says eat until you're comfortably stuffed. And Bella the Steak and Butter Gal has a protocol called priming when you're first getting started, where you literally stuff as much food in your face as you can for the first couple of weeks. I think any of those plans are fairly good. Because some of us, because we've been used to eating lots of little meals all day long, can have trouble getting enough food into our systems if we start off with 1 or 2 meals a day. So for the first several weeks, I would just eat. Every time you're hungry, eat. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Or just the Lion Diet. And I think you'll find that because even though you may be eating what seems like massive amounts of food, you'll still begin to heal because you're not poisoning yourself with sugar or all of the stuff that is bad in the standard American diet. And it's not just the seed oils, it's not just the sugar. I believe vegetables in tiny amounts for seasoning might have a place in the human diet, but to sit down and eat a great big salad I don't think is such a good idea. So now you have eaten as much as you want, as often as you want, but of the correct nutritious foods: beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. At some point while you're doing this, let's say you've been, moving along and you're 2-3 weeks in, at some point at about the 2 or 3 week mark, you're going to wake up and you're going to go to cook your breakfast and you're going to go, I just don't want this today. It's not because your body wants something else. It's because you're not actually hungry yet. So just put off breakfast for a couple of hours. At some point you'll start to think, yeah, those hamburger patties or 4 or 5 fried eggs plus a few strips of bacon sounds pretty good. Now's the time to go ahead and eat. And all of a sudden, your eating windows start to shrink. You don't have to concentrate on it. You don't have to think about it. It will just happen naturally. One day you're going to go, I don't really need breakfast anymore. I can wait till lunch. And at lunchtime you feel pretty hungry, so you eat whatever it is you've been eating for lunch. Well, guess what just happened? You've moved into intermittent fasting because you eat your lunch, you eat your dinner, and then you don't eat again till lunch the next day. But you didn't have to force it. You didn't have to, white knuckle through it. You just kept eating everything you wanted until your body said, whoa, dude, that's enough. And that's how it happens. That's how we should make it happen. Now, are there people out there that have just said, I'm going to start this way of eating and I'm going to just eat one big meal a day, and they've had success with it? Absolutely. But that's not where I started. I was eating, it was 3 meals a day. I don't remember how long it was before I skipped my first breakfast. For me, it wasn't very long, because I've always been a fairly big eater. And if your first meal of the day consists of, 3 or 4 hamburger patties and 5 or 6 fried eggs, that's a lot of food. So all of the other stuff, the intermittent fasting, the true fasting, everything else will fall into place. It'll just happen. You don't have to force it. Just wait, and it will happen. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to cover in this getting started video. Oh yeah, one other thing to know. You hear me talk a lot about the N=1 experiments. That means that we are working on figuring out what's best for us. And that's why I personally like the lion diet, which is just ruminant meat, salt, and water, with its associated fat, of course. Roasts, steaks, hamburger meat, any of that stuff. Salt and water. Because as Dr. Berry would tell us, we've been eating fatty red meat for as long as we've been drinking water and breathing air. There's nothing bad in fatty red meat. And there's a lot of really good stuff in it. So once you've done just that for 60 days or so, I know some of you are going to say, Bob, 60 days of just beef, salt, and water? That sounds awful. Yeah. But it's not. I actually, it's pretty much what I eat all the time, and I still love it. But once you've done that 60-day cleanse of just doing the lion diet, now you can start adding things back in, one at a time, whether it be eggs or chicken or cheese or whatever carnivore foods you like. Add them back in one at a time. Eat it for a couple of days to let it get into your system, and then don't eat it for a couple of days and see how you feel. It's like, well, I ate a great big pork roast and I feel just the same as I did. And pork roast doesn't affect you. Now, the next time around, you decide to, go with chicken or cheese or, whatever it is, but then you eat it for a couple of days, and the third morning you wake up and it's like, man, I don't really feel as good as I did. And then after whatever that food you've added gets out of your system, you go back to feeling pretty good. well, you know that that's something you probably shouldn't eat because it's not good for you. At least your body doesn't like it. And there are many people that have these problems, whether it be cheese or eggs or pork or chicken, you know, whatever it is, everybody's body reacts just a little bit differently. And you can try this experiment multiple times. You don't have to, you know, do your experiment, discover that pork roast isn't good for you, and never touch pork again. Well, I always say give it 6 months. You know, if it's something you really like, if it's something that you can take or leave, then of course I would say just leave it. But if it's something that you really like and you're going to miss, let it sit for 6 months and try it again. I had that problem with eggs. I was eating a bunch of eggs when I first got started, and then about 3 months into it, eggs made me feel nasty. So I quit eating eggs. And then it was about 6 or 7 months after that, I was still down in North Carolina. A friend of mine brought me a dozen eggs that her chickens had laid, fresh eggs. And those were great. I had no problems with those. After I was done with those, I bought some more store-bought eggs, and I've been buying store-bought eggs ever since. So you never know when whatever it is, whatever reaction they're causing might go away. Okay, I'm about halfway up that huge hill that I had to stop 3 or 4 or 5 times on this hill the first time I did this. But I still have to go up to the top of the hill and down the block to get home. And I've talked enough for today. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around and cue some music for the rest of the walk home. I'll see you when we get back to the house. Okay, cut the mute. Thank you. Well, we're approaching the house again here. All the way around that big block. If I remember right, is about 1.5 miles. That's not a huge walk, but considering it's Tuesday and I worked a long day yesterday, I'll take it. The main takeaway from today's video, though, the thing that I want you to remember the most, is that the number one mistake I see people making on the carnivore diet is not eating enough. And if you go out and watch any of the people that I follow, you'll find that their opinion on this is the same. The single biggest mistake is not eating enough. So once you've done your transition and you're ready to actually give it a go, just eat. Eat as much as you want, as often as you want, and let the rest take care of itself. I hope you enjoyed today's video. That's what I've got for you today, folks. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.